Hello, RAN team. This is Christoph with Kaiserworks presenting Siedlung. Siedlung is a German word that means settlement. It's also used to express small town or village, which is effectively what we're building here on these two sites. This was, if you recall, an investigation to see whether or not it makes sense to purchase the additional property located directly east of the property that you currently own. So we're looking at 747 North 12th Avenue and 824 North 11th Avenue. And before I zoom in here, we'll just take a look at the big picture here. We're showing a scheme which has parking on the east side and a building on the west side. This building is going to be a four-story building that has 5 structural bays, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we can discuss this a little bit in greater detail later, but in order to achieve our amenity space, which needs to be on the first floor, and achieve our 16 parking spaces, for our 16 units, which is the max we can achieve based on the fact that these are R5 and given our lot size. So 43.5 units per acre. Just using that as our starting point, we said let's achieve 16 units. How do we do that? And so we're doing that, showing 14 parking spaces located here, 2 additional on this west side over here. This scheme, I will say, what we're calling option A, is one that we feel is harsh from a neighborhood context standpoint. In other words, everyone that lives on this street is not going to be a fan of this project because you've just inserted the parking lot that feels very much like a parking lot into the fabric of this neighborhood. And on the other side, we now have a building which has a stature that feels more like more suited for an urban context. So we end up with a very large, tall stature building on one side and a parking lot on the other. So from that standpoint, we feel that this is sort of a rough proposal for the neighborhood. Let me zoom in now to our plan just a little bit more. And as you'll see, in order to achieve our amenity space on the ground floor while achieving 16 units total, what we're doing is this sort of gap tooth structural proposal where we have 5 bays, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But some of those bays are not filled with units. So on the ground floor, we would have this opening that is our amenity space, and then on the other floors, we could have these moments that occur within the project that would be great little private outdoor spaces that create architectural interest and provide some additional amenity for patrons of the building. I think one of the bigger things we learned, or the most significant things we learned, is that this 50-foot width is a challenging width to work with for our 5 multifamily program. Let me move now to option B. Option B was really derived from basically taking the points that we felt were not successful architecturally in A. And what this does is, instead of having all of our interior square footage clustered on one side of the site, we're separating the sort of architecture as it meets the ground. So on the west side, we have our ADA accessible unit that comes to meet the ground, and on the east side we have the same thing. We're showing an 1100 square foot unit, which would be type B ADA accessible, and then we're showing a 600 square foot unit, which is a type A accessible unit on the right side with parking in between. And unique to this site, and I would say different than what we're working on for 743 East Portland, is, again, given the width of the site, we are introducing an idea of a single direction drive aisle that goes all the way through the property, which gains you, and this works out like down to the inch. We've got this to work out. If this was, any narrower in this north-south direction, this would not be achievable. But the idea is that you would drive in, you'd park, you have just enough room to back out, and then continue on through towards the west. Cars are always moving in the westerly direction. And then what we're doing for our amenity space, that again needs to be on the ground floor, we're using this bar just located to the north of the cars as an area for private outdoor space. We're showing some barbecues that are tucked in here. This is a 4-foot wide walkway, bike racks, and then we have another sort of private outdoor space located right here. And I'm gonna pan us down a little bit further to look at what's happening on floor 2 and floor 3. So again, here we're proposing a bit of a gap tooth architectural proposal because we cannot have more than 16 units, and this doesn't work with 2 floors. We're alternating between 600 square feet and 1,100 square feet. I think we would end up massaging this potentially to be 600 and 1,200 square feet, so that we could have a regular structural bay as we get into sort of the architectural execution of this. Something that we've also discussed in-house is, can we get some of these moments to stack, and preferably they would stack above our amenity space, such that, moving back over to our first floor plan, we would be able to achieve some full height apertures that go from the ground floor amenity space all the way through. So you're standing here looking straight up at this location where my mouse is now, all the way to blue sky. And I think if you can achieve that, at least in one location in this amenity space, we can pull this off. Both of these schemes, I will say, are they're aggressive. We're trying to achieve, the utmost number of units that are possible given our zoning in this location and given the size of the lots. And I think with this proposal, this will be a fairly tight architectural form, and it really is going to benefit from having these moments of relief. Let me just pan back. These moments of relief on the upper floors. And let me just scan my notes to see if I'm missing any notes, and I think that covers it. So we look forward to your thoughts on these two. Our next round on this would be taking any comments that you have, and then we would begin to investigate architecturally what this building form could look like. We're most excited, if you haven't picked up on it, on this second option, option B. Thank you.